Well, we're just going to share this, and no parent or child is going to know that information went on. So that's a thumbnail sketch of what House Bill 181 does. I'm very excited about it. I'd love to answer questions you might have about it afterwards. Is that a good time?
Terrific.
I don't want to take too much of your time now, but I will be here later if you have questions, and thank you for sharing my excitement on its introduction.
Sarah, thank you very much. All right, next I'd like to invite to the floor Mark Sini from Americans for Prosperity to talk about the border adjustment tax. Please welcome Mark.
How you folks doing? Great. So it's awesome to see this many freedom fighters out here on a night like this, especially with the weather so nice.
Mark, can you put that closer?
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Normally we don't use microphones when we do AFP events, so it's a little learning curve for me. But I'm here to talk about the border adjustment tax. Is anybody familiar with that? Anybody heard about that on the news just yet? Yeah, okay. So what do we think about it? Yay, nay?
No.
Right. No more taxes. So if you're not familiar with it, this is something that the House Republicans introduced last year as part of their vision of what America can be. It's essentially a restructuring of the corporate income tax system, levying a 20% tax on imported products to the country while letting companies that are exporting take those profits and not be taxed on them. Essentially, it's designed to address some of the issues that we have around our trade deficit, around the balance of trade between countries like Mexico and Canada or China, but it doesn't really address or actually fix any of those problems. All it does is pass a $1 trillion tax on folks like you and me. So if anybody's going to the grocery store this weekend or going shopping, I don't know about you, but I would say the 20% increase on the products that I'm buying is pretty significant, right? Right. And that's what this tax is going to do. Sorry about that, Tom. Thank you. For reference, President Trump has already come out and said that this is a pretty bad idea for America. We also have pretty much every senator you've ever heard of on Fox say that it's a bad idea, from Senator Portman here in Ohio all the way to Lisa Murkowski and Lindsey Graham. We also have Federal Reserve Chairwoman Janet Yellen saying that this is a bad idea, and that all the proposals that the border adjustment tax would supposedly fix, it's not going to do. So all this is based on a lot of really fuzzy math. Has anybody gone up to Canada lately and had to pay that value-added tax? No, nobody goes to Canada anymore. Okay, great. Look, I mean, it's a really great place to go visit, and definitely don't want to live there. Mostly because of the value-added tax. It's a destination-based cash flow tax. Essentially, they want to tax consumption in the location that it's consumed, not at the manufacturer's origin, which is how our tax system is set up right now for corporations. Border adjustment tax is different from value-added tax or the tariff. However, we don't really know how it's going to work out because it's never been done in this particular kind of way, especially on the scale of the American economy. So it's a lot of fuzzy math. Started back in the late 90s by a guy named Auerbach, who thought that this was a great idea on paper. I don't know about you folks, but I don't want to bet the American economy on some theory. What I'd rather do is address the problems that our country faces with proven methods, right? One of the biggest ones that we can address is the corporate income tax, right? Between 35 and 39% tax for doing business in this country. That's one of the highest in the entire world and one of the highest in the developed nations. Instead of going after a simple fix like that, or some of the things that are outlined on the paper that we just came to folks, House Republicans have come up with the border adjustment tax. Well, if you haven't noticed, just about everything you're buying is being imported or at least made from imported components, right? We have a global supply chain. This kind of thing is going to crush retailers in this country. As much as I love buying my clothes made in America, just like everybody else, a lot of the stuff you just can't get. Whether your thread is being made in Bangladesh or your tennis shoes are being made in China, it's going to hit consumers and it's going to hit retailers. Now in Ohio, 570,000 Ohioans rely on retail for their full-time employment. This will cripple retailers. But it's also going to cripple big manufacturing, like the auto industry. So AFP actually put out a report last month about what states are going to be most affected by the border adjustment tax effects. Michigan's #1, and that's because of Detroit, right? Big three automakers. Even if Detroit is building their cars right here in whether it's Ohio, Indiana, Brook Park, I live in Berea, so we get to see Ford build their cars all the time. Even if it's being assembled right here, the parts are coming from Canada, the parts are coming from Mexico, the parts are coming from China, or the raw materials are. This border adjustment tax is going to trickle down to all of that. And most estimates are putting, if you want to buy a new car, it's going to raise the price of a new vehicle by about $2,000. That's an immediate effect. So there's a lot of problems with the border adjustment tax, but what's supposedly the upside with this? Why do they want to do this? I'm sure we don't think that the Republicans just want to cripple the American economy intentionally, right? And they don't. The idea behind it is that the value of the American dollar will go up to adjust for this 20% tax. And it will increase 20%, quote unquote, on math, based on the math that they've done to get us to that point. So basically, the money in your pocketbook will be worth more than it is right now. Problem with that is, again, we've never seen it happen, but also when you start getting into protectionist trade agreements like that, what is the countries that you're trading with going to do? Well, they're going to do the same thing, right? So we're not going to see that kind of effect. Another thing that this is going to happen is because the supposed increase in the dollar will actually weaken our status with those countries. Right now, China and the developing economies of the world, India for example, they're taking on a ton of debt from U.S. corporations. In the last 8 years, it's increased $3.5 trillion just in 8 years because the American dollar is, one, the de facto currency of the world, but two, we're making credit very available and the terms are very good. They're going to go find other people to borrow that money from if we keep adding value to the dollar artificially. Okay?
Is there a bill pending?
So there's not a bill pending just yet. Kevin Brady and Speaker Ryan are actually pushing this. There was a lot of discussion that this was going to be included in President Trump's plan that should be released in the next couple of days here, I believe tomorrow, right? He's backed off on that already. He said that that's not a good idea and it's probably not going to be included in his tax plan. But there are still elements that think that this is a great idea. So what we have handed out to you folks is a number of ways that we think we can get the tax reform that we want to see in the country without putting a tax that's going to cripple our economy and be passed on to the consumers. A lot of it's pretty common sense, a little bit, some of it's a little wonky, but if you guys get a chance, I'd say take a look at that. I will be around after this if you have any questions about any of this. But if you guys want to get involved, you want to know more about Americans for Prosperity, let me know. We are one of the largest grassroots conservative organizations in the country, and we are actually going to be having a number of events here in Lake County in the next couple of months, including our foundation's coming in and doing an Insight to Action. Teach everybody how to talk about capitalism and why it is actually the more moral system out there. Don't let the left just pretend that they have the moral high ground. So that's actually going to be at the Willoughby Senior Center on May 16th. There's flyers in the back if anybody's interested. All right. Thank you.
Mark, thank you very much. So we're running a little bit long, so I'm going to keep the next section or next part of the agenda very short. And then really, I did want to talk a little bit about the first 100 days of Donald Trump. I guess I would sum that up in generalities, or in a nutshell, if you will, that what those things that Donald Trump can control himself, I think he's done a very good job of doing and fulfilling his obligations. On those areas where he's needed congressional action, I think all of us who have been watching the news, which I suspect includes everyone who's in this room, you have seen Congress not being very responsive or not being able to come to an agreement on various things, especially the biggest one for me really is Obamacare repeal, and I'm sure that's it's high on everybody's radar as well. But before we turn the floor over to Tom Z, I did want to just remind people of some of the things that Donald Trump has done, just to balance out some of the things that have not been accomplished, just so you know that forward progress has been made. So looking at some of the things, when he came into office, he had the federal hiring freeze, and I think more changes are coming to our federal employment, which I think will be a very good thing. He's pulled support for transgender bathrooms. The executive action that President Trump or President Obama put in place has been repealed by President Trump. He's reinstating the Mexico City policy, which bars U.S. government funding to international non-governmental agencies that perform abortions, which everybody in this room, I'm sure, supports. Additionally, as far as regulations go, he's ordered a cut of 2 regulations for every new regulation that is put in place, which again is going to help our economy. He's putting in place through Attorney General Jeff Sessions, the ability and the directive to pull funding from sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. That is moving forward, though there's been, I guess, judicial action today that puts that in question, at least temporarily, but he's moving forward on things that he has promised. A few other things that he has done. He approved the Dakota oil pipeline, which had been lingering for a very long time, and he put that to rest and approved that. He's killed the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Deal, which I think, I am a free trader, but that was not a free trade deal. He's doing other things that he can with regard to Obamacare, where he has ordered the federal government not to enforce certain aspects of it. Again, eroding the intent and the mess that Obamacare is. He's ordering the construction of the wall. Obviously, that's a big issue that's come up with the funding for the rest of the fiscal year. I don't know how that's going to work out, but that's something that truly propelled Donald Trump into the presidency, got his campaign going, and that's something that all of us need to keep forcing on our leaders in Congress and to the White House that's got to be done during this first term.
He's already pulled that and said it's going to be done next year.
Okay, and we need to make sure that it happens. I don't know if all of you heard, but Elliott says that apparently the decision's been made in the White House to pull that as a requirement for this year's funding, but that would be part of fiscal year 18 funding. So that's something that we need to watch them like a hawk and to make sure that our perspective is understood. And let me just call out briefly. I did, on the last several emails, I put a link to Immigration Pause, which is it literally will take you 10 seconds to do, but if you go to that website and type in some information, including I believe your email address, I've done it, I can't remember all the information they require, but they will then send an email letter to your senators, our senators Portman and Brown, and let them know how important this is to us. Form letters doesn't make a difference. If they hear from us as constituents, they listen. We don't need to send unique letters. Doing what we're doing here through Immigration Pause will be effective. And last but not least, I just want to emphasize to everybody that with the selecting and getting onto the Supreme Court Neil Gorsuch, that is just huge. And hopefully, frankly, there's a lot of rumors going around in the media that perhaps we will end up with another Supreme Court justice resigning later this summer. So hopefully, we'll have even a more conservative court moving forward. But with that, other things are in play. We haven't gotten everything, but I believe that Donald Trump has, for the things that he can personally control out of the White House, he has done a very good job of trying to meet those goals that he established for himself for the first 100 days.
Amen.
All right, now let's go to our headline speaker. I think virtually every one of you know who he is, but just in case there are a few people out there who don't, let me just read a quick bio. Tom Zaliskowski is the president of the We the People Convention and the Ohio Citizens PAC. He's also executive director of the Portage County Tea Party. He's the past president of the Ohio Liberty Coalition. Beyond all this, he also hosts Tea Party Talk with Tom Z, which can be heard on WHLO 640 AM on Saturdays from 9 to 9:30. And he has a great archive online, so you can catch all the shows if you've missed any of them live. And beyond all that, believe it or not, he's also an entrepreneur and a businessman in the Kent area. So,
And he's still married.
And he's still married, yes, and his wife even made the trip up. So thank you both for your sacrifices, but there's one more thing I want to say. The book I'm holding is called The Intimidation Game, and it's by Kimberly Strassel. She is one of the op-ed writers from the Wall Street Journal that I often agree with. And The Intimidation Game details how the political class has put in place obstacles for people like us to actually have influence in politics. I bring this up because Tom is mentioned in a couple of places in that book. So not only does Tom have a local presence and has been instrumental locally as well as the state level, but Tom has done things that have made him a force at the national level as well, as demonstrated here and by other things that you've seen. So please welcome Tom Z.
First of all, I want to thank Tom and congratulate all of you for electing him as your new leader. I know as someone who leads a group, I know the leaders around the state and what they put into it. And you're very blessed to have a great guy. His heart's in it. And he's bright. He's enthusiastic. He reached out. We got together. We spent a couple hours talking, or maybe longer than he wanted to, talking about best practices and things like that. And and this is the natural course of things, folks. Right? In battle, when the guy carrying the flag gets shot, someone else grabs the flag. And Tom did that. So I am just so honored to be here with all of you tonight. I know, how many of you have ever seen me before speak? Any okay. Some of you listen to the radio show, I hope. Some of you do. I hope you do. I hope you do that. You come to this place, and you got the flag here in this room, and you just think about the founding of our country. And you think about, people sitting in chairs like this, in Williamsburg or in Philadelphia or New York or someplace, 247 years ago, talking about the same things, right? Talking about the same things, because the battle continues. You have to fight forever, right? Bill Whittle has a great, I don't know, any of you guys ever watched Bill Whittle videos? If you ever get Bill Whittle, look it up, sharp guy, sharp as a tack, is wonderful material. But he talks about how, the whole liberal agenda is like rust. It never stops. Right? You can't stop rust. You got to keep, sanding it down and repainting it. You can't stop it. And so that's what we're fighting, because it's natural, right, to erode. It's natural to let the grass grow, right? But it takes effort to mow the lawn, and it takes that persistence and that courage, to keep mowing that lawn year after year after year after year, right? And that's what you're doing, That's what you're doing. Every day you're mowing the lawn. Every day you're taking care of your country, your family, the things you believe in, your church, your community, your state. That's why you're here tonight. That's why I'm here tonight, right? Because we're all in this together, and we're all, the whole thing depends on us. It does not depend on those people in Washington. It does not depend on Donald Trump. It doesn't. It depends on you guys. I don't know if any of you guys know the name Don Gagné from National Public Radio. He's their National Public Radio spokesman. Really great guy. He's been there for many, many years. And we were fortunate enough, last week I think it was, Dan, wasn't it? Don Gagne came to our house, and we spent about 3 hours, talking. And we were talking, he's doing a story on the first 100 days and things like that. And he was just saying to me, aren't you guys, aren't you disappointed about Trump, that he's flip-flopping? Aren't you, disappointed? Are you going to turn on him because he's not keeping every promise, And I looked at Don, I said, Don, are you kidding me? We're used to politicians not keeping any of their promises, let alone all of their promises. So, you guys are going from nothing to he, maybe doesn't do one thing, and you think we're going to be mad? I said, Don, you don't get it. It's not about Donald Trump. It's about us. Back in the election, a year ago at this time, I see Kim Laurie here and some of the other people I know are involved in politics. Think about a year ago where we were at. We had how many candidates for Republican president? Right? You can be accountable. There was just everybody's for everybody. We were fighting mad, right? I'm a Rubio guy. I'm a Ben Carson guy. I'm a Trump guy. On Facebook, we're arguing, calling each other names, untrending people, right? Remember all that? It was ugly. It was ugly. But you know what? That's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength. That's why you're so great. Because you're willing to hear opinions that you may not agree with. And you're willing to research them and argue them and try to change their mind. That's what made America great. That's why the snowflakes will always melt away and do nothing and will not be remembered. But you will be remembered. You'll be remembered for a long, long time. I swear to you, someday, 100 years from now, the history books will write about you because of what you did. And you should be proud. You should be very proud of what you did and what you're doing today while you're here tonight on a beautiful night, right? You can be home watching trashy TV. Instead, you came to see me. What a great idea. Right? So, I just think you need to keep perspective, and I really appreciate what Tom just did. Because their goal, they're the collective the misinformation people, their goal is to convince you that you're losing. Their goal is to tell you that Donald Trump's a failure, that he's a liar, that, that he's flip-flopping and that he played you, right? But the facts are not there. And what Tom just did, we need to do more of. And that is, we need to keep checking out the list. Hey, brought the coal jobs back, got rid of the clean air plan, right? Clean water plan, that was a fiasco. Got the Supreme Court judge. The border, people across the border is way down. That's what you got to remember. That's the facts, that's the truth.
Amen.
Right? That's what it's really about. See, because this is a fight for truth. Where we're in is a fight for truth. You're here tonight and you listen to my radio show because you want to know the truth. We're not afraid of the truth. We're business people, right? We're farmers, we're machinists. We raise families. Can you raise your family if you're a liar? Can you have a good moral family? Will your kids grow up all right if your kids find out by the time you're 8 that your father's a liar? How's that going to turn out for you? Not well. It's all about integrity. See, and we're the ones who don't fear the truth. We want the truth. We desire the truth. Because that's what you can build on. That's the foundation. And you know what? And we believe in our heart that there is a truth.
Amen.
That's the difference. This business about relativism, well, your truth is different than her truth. I'm a Catholic, born and raised Catholic in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I just love the Catholic Church now because you go to 10 Catholic churches and you're wondering if they're pressing 10 different religions, right? Because you can go to Cleveland and have the priest still say the Mass in Polish or Latin, right? And then you can go out in the western suburbs and they're playing guitars and have a disco light, It's relativism. We don't believe in relativism. We believe in right and wrong. Amen. We believe in the truth. We believe that there's a best way to do this and there's a wrong way to do that.
Amen.
Right? And they don't want you to believe that, and they sure don't want our kids to believe that, because they are merchants of misinformation. They want you to not know what you can rely on. They want you to know that you can't do it by yourself, right? Remember Hillary Clinton? It takes a village. And nobody thought that was a communist book, right? Yeah, what's wrong with that, right? What's wrong with that concept? So we're here tonight to talk about the truth. We're here tonight to talk about, the future. And I feel like we're in a very important period of transition. I think that we are at a point now where we have to kind of rethink things. And Tom alluded to that. What are we going to do different going forward? It's I told people right after the election, some of you listen to my radio show probably heard me say this, but for the last 8 years, we were in insurgency. Our job was to blow up the railroad tracks so the train couldn't get through, right? We didn't want the Obama Express to leave the station. So we were blowing up the tracks, right? But now, we're on the inside. Our job now is to protect the tracks and make sure nobody blows them up and get the trains on the track in the right order so we can get our train through. Those are two different things. They have different skill sets. It's a lot easier blowing up tracks than building them. Ask anybody who's ever been an engineer, right? So we need to think. We need to think, we need to talk. We need to really understand our environment, okay? We need to really understand some things. I'm going to talk to you tonight about what I think is the future of our movement. Where I think we're going to make the difference. What's the next step for us, okay? And so I'm going to just kind of jump through here a little bit. I had a couple other slides. I was going to talk to you a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the House Republican bill, okay? And I know a lot of you are concerned about repeal and replace, right? Because they lied to us, right? They all ran, we're going to repeal Obamacare. We voted 62 times to repeal Obamacare, none of which counted for anything, right? But now when they got to vote, and it does count, suddenly we have a problem. And geez, we can't vote on that bill that we passed 2 years ago unanimously, right? Remember that? We can't vote on that one. No. We need the My Way plan by Paul Ryan, right? Because we were lying when we voted for that. So I don't know where this is going to go. I will tell you what I do know, and that is that there's going to be a deal. During the break, the Freedom Caucus, the Tuesday group, all the other groups, they've been talking to each other, they've been negotiating. They understand that we need to get this done in some form, okay? And if you heard Jim Jordan talk during the break, he said some important things. And I think this is really, really important for us, okay? He said, it's critical that we work our way through this because we need a template for how we're going to move forward. Okay? So it's kind of like a team that just gets together, okay? And, we played that first game when they didn't pass the healthcare thing, and we looked like we never saw each other, and we couldn't pass or catch the ball or run or do anything right, and we had to go back and practice, right? And so now what they've been doing is they've been talking to each other and saying, okay, what do you want? What do you want? How do we do this in a way that we can all work together? I said on my radio show, and I actually said this to, I don't know how many congressmen, when this was all falling apart. I said, you guys, this is like an NFL team. I said, what's the problem? The Cleveland Browns are horrible. The problem is you can't fire all the players because they have guaranteed contracts. So what do? You fire the coach, right? But that's not always the answer. So you can fire Paul Ryan, and I begged him to do that. I think Paul Ryan must go, okay? But you know what the problem is? Nobody will run. Nobody will run. No, I have said to Jim Jordan directly, I've said to Jim Renacci, I've said to dozens of congressmen, when they talk to me about, Paul Ryan, there's no regular order, he won't do this and that. I said, will you run? Oh, no, I'd lose my committee seats, and I'd lose this. And I said, who cares? Either play or go home. Right, you little baby? You little whiny kid? Here's a Kleenex, wipe your nose and man up. So I told them after the fiasco, and they took this to heart. They literally said, I said, you're like an NFL team. I said, I coached for a long time. I played sports. I played sports with people I hated their guts. I hated them. They were not my kind of folks, but we were on the same team. And so you would get in the locker room together, and you would have it out. And I said, I don't care if you